Marcus Daniels clutched his boarding pass as flight attendant Heather Stevens towered over him, her voice sharp enough to slice through the hum of the cabin. "Sir, we need this seat for another passenger." The first-class cabin went still. Conversations died mid-sentence. Heads turned. You could feel the weight of dozens of eyes settling on him, waiting for his reaction. Marcus didn't move. The 42-year-old CEO of Pinnacle Investments had weathered Wall Street storms that would have sunk lesser men. He'd just closed a $120 million deal with SkyWest Airlines, the very airline now demanding he give up his premium seat. As security strode down the aisle, hands hovering near their tasers, Marcus's phone buzzed. A notification lit up his screen. Payment of $25 million received. His lips barely moved as he tapped three cold words. Transaction reversed. Before we dive into this shocking story of racial discrimination and raw corporate power, let me know where you're watching from. And if you believe in justice, if you believe no one is above accountability, hit that like button and subscribe to hear more true stories of courage in the face of prejudice. Hours earlier, Marcus Daniels had walked through the private terminal in Chicago wearing a custom-tailored Navy Armani suit and his trademark calm. His life had been anything but calm growing up in the South Chicago housing projects, where broken glass crunched underfoot and opportunity felt like something that existed on another planet. But Marcus never accepted limits. By the time he graduated from Harvard Business School, he'd already mapped out how to climb higher than anyone expected him to. Now, at 42, he ran Pinnacle Investments, a powerhouse managing billions. Today's flight to Salt Lake City wasn't just another business trip. For months, Marcus had studied SkyWest Airlines' aging fleet and shaky financials, crafting a plan to inject $120 million and completely transform their operations. If the deal closed, SkyWest would enter a new era of profitability. Marcus had booked seat 2A weeks ago, wanting the peace and space of first class to review his final presentation slides. As he settled into the plush leather seat, tablet in hand, he scrolled through graphics and numbers. Each chart a key to SkyWest's future. Every line item had been rehearsed in front of the mirror. Every projection memorized. A shadow fell across him. Heather Stevens, the flight attendant, smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Boarding pass, sir?" she asked. Marcus raised an eyebrow. No one else was being checked this closely, but he handed it over. "Good morning." Heather studied it a moment too long. "And your name is?" "Marcus Daniels." His voice was calm, steady. "And you're sure this is your seat?" Her tone carried a subtle skepticism, the kind that makes your blood run colder than outright hostility. "Yes, I'm certain." I tapped my phone, showing the confirmation email with my name in bold type. Heather's forced smile appeared. "Very well, sir." She handed the boarding pass back without offering the pre-flight drink she had already served to every other passenger in first class. Marcus brushed it off. Microaggressions weren't new to him. What he didn't know was that in the galley, someone else was giving orders. Bradley Wellington, SkyWest Airlines' vice president of operations, had boarded early to avoid the crowds. His family name carried old money and older thinking. Aviation wasn't just his career, it was his inheritance. To him, SkyWest wasn't a company, it was a birthright. And the idea of a black-owned investment firm gaining major influence over his airline made his jaw tighten until it ached. He'd pulled Heather aside. "We have a VIP boarding later who will need accommodation," he whispered, nodding subtly towards Marcus's seat. "That passenger in 2A, verify his credentials thoroughly." Heather understood exactly what he meant. 30 minutes later, the VIP arrived, a golf buddy of Bradley's, a wealthy investor who preferred not to sit in economy. And suddenly, Marcus Daniels was no longer a paying customer. He was a problem to be solved. Heather returned to his row, voice lower this time. "Sir, we'll need you to move to an economy seat. there's been a change. Marcus blinked once. Excuse me? We have another passenger who requires this seat. Marcus's eyes narrowed, but his voice stayed even. I paid for this seat, in full, weeks ago. Security appeared at the end of the aisle, their presence deliberate, their hands resting near their weapons. The cabin grew tense. A white businessman across the aisle looked away quickly, pretending to read his newspaper. Sir, Heather pressed, if you refuse to move, you may be removed from this aircraft. Marcus didn't raise his voice. He didn't flinch. He simply reached for his phone. As the first officer watched nervously from the cockpit door, Marcus Daniels opened his banking app. A notification glowed on his screen. $25 million. Payment received from Pinnacle Investments to SkyWest Airlines. Marcus scrolled once. His thumb hovered over the screen, and with a single tap, he reversed the transfer. The funds vanished like smoke. Bradley Wellington, sitting just behind the cockpit, felt his own phone buzz. He glanced down. His heart stopped. He shoved past Heather and confronted Marcus directly. What did you just do? He hissed. Marcus looked up slowly, expression unreadable. I believe you just downgraded the wrong passenger. Bradley's face turned crimson. You don't understand who you are talking to. Oh, I understand perfectly, but do you understand who you are trying to humiliate? Passengers stared, phones now recording. The story was no longer private. The first-class cabin had become a courtroom, and Marcus Daniels was both witness and prosecutor. The captain emerged, tension radiating from every step. He'd been briefed that a passenger was refusing to comply, but as he took in the scene, the calm, well-dressed man in 2A, the visibly shaken flight attendant, and the VP of operations practically foaming at the mouth, he realized this was no ordinary passenger dispute. Sir, the captain addressed Marcus directly, there seems to be a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding. Marcus cut in smoothly. Your airline just tried to eject a paying first-class customer to accommodate a friend of your vice president. And now, your airline is $25 million poorer. The captain froze. Heather's forced professionalism cracked into panic. Bradley Wellington looked like someone had ripped the ground out from under him. Marcus Daniels stood up, adjusting his Armani tie with deliberate precision. His voice carried across the cabin, clear and unshaken. I booked this seat weeks ago. I paid for it. I am on this flight to finalize a deal that would have saved your company millions. But if this is how SkyWest treats its partners and its customers, perhaps I need to reconsider. Gasps rippled through the cabin. Someone in economy audibly whispered, Is this really happening? Marcus turned to the security officers, who were suddenly unsure whether to intervene or salute him. Gentlemen, are you here to protect passengers or to enforce corporate prejudice? Neither officer answered. Word of the incident spread before the plane even left the gate. Social media lit up with live footage. By the time Marcus landed, news outlets were already calling, demanding statements. Within 24 hours, SkyWest's stock had dipped. Bradley Wellington was placed on administrative leave, and Heather Stevens issued a public apology she almost certainly hadn't written herself. But Marcus? He didn't stop there. He called a press conference outside Pinnacle Investments. Cameras flashed as he stood at the podium. Yesterday, he said, voice steady, I was asked to leave a first-class seat I paid for. Not because of a clerical error, but because someone with power thought they were entitled to more than me. This wasn't just about one seat. This was about respect. This was about who gets to belong. The crowd erupted in applause. Marcus let it settle before continuing. Pinnacle Investments will not move forward with SkyWest Airlines, not until they acknowledge and correct the culture that allowed this to happen. And we're not stopping there. This is about accountability in every boardroom, every cockpit, every gate where prejudice thinks it can still take a seat. By the end of the week, SkyWest executives were on their knees, publicly,
figuratively and financially. Their board issued an emergency statement pledging diversity reforms, mandatory bias training, and a personal apology to Marcus Daniels. But Marcus didn't want their apology. He wanted change. And he got it. Because when you build yourself from nothing, when you claw your way from the projects of South Chicago to the glass towers of Wall Street, you learn something about power. Real power doesn't shout. Real power doesn't threaten. Real power reverses a $25 million payment and waits for the phone to ring. If you believe Marcus Daniels was right to stand his ground, hit that like button and share this story. This isn't just about first-class seats. This is about justice, about dignity, about never letting anyone, not even a